Good afternoon, and will the Government Relations, Ethics, and Transparency Committee meeting of February 4th, 2025 please come to order? It is 1:36 p.m. I'm your chair, Nohelani Uuhajins. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. Let's begin with Committee Vice Chair Tamara Paulton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, aloha winala. I'm here in the chambers ready to work things.
Perfect. Councilmember Tom Cook, good afternoon.
Aloha, good afternoon.
Councilmember Gabe Johnson, good afternoon. Is he with us? He'll be joining us shortly. Okay, he will be joining us shortly. Councilmember Tasha Kama, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Council Chair Alice Lee, good afternoon.
Aloha Winala, Chair. My Molokai Nui Ahina. I am at my private residence, alone here. Probably in about a half hour, I will be joined by two minors returning from school. We currently have no testifiers at the Molokai District Office. Mahalo, Chair.
Mahalo. Councilmember Shane Sinensi, good afternoon.
Aloha winala. No testifiers in Hana.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Yukile Sugimura will be joining us shortly, and we will return to Councilmember Gabe Johnson. Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, Chair. I didn't hear the sound, so
no.
Sorry I missed your call.
That's okay.
I am alone in my workspace. There's no testifiers at Lanai District Office, and I took my snoring dog back to the house so she wouldn't interrupt your meeting, Chair. Mahalo.
I appreciate that, although it doesn't bother me at all, but thank you. And for those of you joining online, please let me know if you can't hear me. We were having some audio issues earlier, so I would appreciate just a hello / agendas as well. Under the Sunshine Law, the chair will receive oral testimony for agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and as the item is called up. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking on the raise your hand button. If calling in, please follow the prompts via phone. *5 to raise and lower your hand, and *6 to mute and unmute. Staff will add names to the testifiers list in the order the testifiers sign up or raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then call the name you are logged in under or the questions. We will now call on testifiers wishing to testify at the beginning of the meeting. So staff, if you could please call the first testifier. Thank you.
Yes, Chair. The first individual signed up to testify is Janice Hill.
Aloha Winala. My name is Janice Hill. I'm testifying in favor of appointing Vernon Kalanikau to the Conservation Planning Committee as nominated in Resolution 25 to 29. I first met Vernon's parents in 1983. Palakalanikau protocol when some beached themselves and died. Every time there's flooding in Kihei, Vernon is monitoring and reporting. Last Friday was the worst muddy mess ever, and Vernon has documented it all. He's knowledgeable about every gulch, mauka, and what natural stream flow should be. He's been working for years trying to mitigate the flooding. He is cultural advisor to extract, locate, and manage the sediment in Kulanihakoi. Vernon is also extremely knowledgeable about the wetlands. Thanks to Vernon, we have the Moku and Ahupua'a signs in Kulakai, Waikapu, and Wailuku. He hopes to have them all over Maui someday. Please read Vernon's resume. You will see the extensive amount of volunteer hours he commits to Maui Island. He's more than qualified to be on the Conservation Planning Committee.
Including stream restoration, the stream restoration hui, which he was a part of, the stream restoration hui, which he was a part of, the Va'a Connection Project, and a lot of her community leadership has shown that she is more than qualified for this type of position. And moreover, the reason I believe this to be true is everything has changed in our lifetime here in Hawaii, in Maui, especially in Maui. Everything has changed, but what are we doing different? And I think we do need a fresh set of eyes, somebody who's willing to go above and beyond, somebody who has is willing to push forward and question the status quo. Status quo let us hear how can we get further away from that to make this place better, because if we continue to operate within a silo and we do the same thing over and over expecting a different outcome, it never will come. So that's all I have for today. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Members, any clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next testifier, please.
The next testifier is DeAndre Makakoa.
Aloha everyone, thank you so much for allowing us to testify. I'm testifying also on Resolution 25-37 to appoint Marianne Kamalani Pahukua to the Planning Commission. Just in the state of the world right now with climate change and wildfire disasters happening, we need diversity and representation in these entities, and I believe that more Native Hawaiians with cultural and lived experience and expertise in conservation, ecological matters, dream restoration is important moving forward for the future of Hawaii. So yeah, I support the approval. Mahalo.
Members, any clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Next testifier, please.
Chair, the next testifier is Lauren Rago.
Aloha, I'm Lauren Rago. Thanks for allowing me to testify today. I'm also in support of Kamalani Pahukua for the Planning Commission. I know it's really important that we fill these empty seats on the Planning Commission. I've been on the other end of that as a community member wanting to advocate and not being able to have quorum or bear quorum. So I think she's obviously a super qualified candidate with a lot of support from Hana. Also, like, let's get the next generation in these seats. She grew up watching the changes that are happening in Hana, and she's raising the next generation in Hana, and a perfect person to guide any of the planning decisions for that district moving forward. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, any clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next testifier, please.
Yes, Chair, the next testifier is Cody Namet Tuivaiti. Apologies if I mispronounce your name.
Thank you.
Yes, they are online. So Cody will have to unmute their camera and microphone.
Hello, mai kako.
Hello.
Hello, mai. O koneme tu waiti koi noa. O ana I ao mamaui. No vau I Kulakai. I am koneme tu waiti, and pretty much raised Maui my whole life, and I currently live in Kulakai, Kihei. I am the project manager of Hui o Aina Kukoa. In Kulakai, we're restoring about 46 acres of Aina, just south of Kalepolepo. And I'm also a member of the Hahamuku Council. Today, I'm here to support Vernon's nomination for the Conservation Planning Committee. Just a little history about my relationship with Vernon. Started off in the Ahamoku Council, and he's always kind of been like a mentor for me, teaching me a lot about the history of Kulakai, learning a lot of the politics together with him, and being culturally ingrained in everything that is Kulakai and in Ike, Hawaii. I feel like Vernon is probably one of the most dedicated persons that I know when it comes to conservation, the health of the Aina, the community, and moving forward. We don't agree on everything, but the one thing I can say is I highly respect him for everything he do, and we always talk almost every week about how we can better attack different situations and promote the health of this moku. So I think there's nobody better than Vernon to be on this seat for Kulakai. Mahalo.
Thank you so much for your testimony, members. Any clarifying questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next testifier, please.
Chair, the next testifier is Chantal Lindo.
Miss Lindo.
Oh, you are unmuted, but we unfortunately can't hear you. So you may just have to adjust your mic settings on your end. Oh, we still can't hear you.
Jen, if you want to click on the down arrow next to mic and then select which mic you have, it might just be your input.
We still cannot hear you. I do have to take testimony before we technically begin because this is testimony at the beginning of the meeting. Would you mind trying to restart and then I can read all the things I need to? Okay, I think we can hear you now.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
I'm going to
good.
be really short. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Thank you to Chair and Commission and the Council for allowing me to testify. I just wanted to thank all of the nominees for agreeing to serve. It's so awesome to have so many good people wanting to serve. But I especially wanted to jump on and support the nomination of Lehua Lee to the persons with disabilities. She's a Molokai girl, but I have known her to be an advocate for persons with disabilities and just kupuna and helping, and so proud of her and want to support that nomination. Also would like to support the nomination of Erwin Misaki to the Liquor Commission. He's long been a commissioner on several commissions in Maui County and on the state level, and has always proven to be very beneficial and committed to his task. And then also wanted to support John Pele to the Commission for Fire and Public Safety. I've been working with John and the people of Mauna Loa on different ideas for fire and emergency services in Mauna Loa, and I think him being from there and just his passion for this subject, especially on Molokai at this time, is going to be a real benefit to us for him to learn more about fire and public safety and what we can do as a county to improve our services to Molokai. So thank you. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Ms. Lindo. Clarifying questions, Member Paulton.
Thank you, Ms. Lindo, for your testimony. I just wanted to clarify on the Maui County Commission on Persons with Disabilities about you were testifying about Lehua Lee Chang. And
Yes.
I know you have like some role to. I was wondering if you had spoken with her about one of the things I wanted to work on the Commission on Persons with Disabilities and the Council on Aging, as well as the Fire and Public Safety Commission, was evacuation plans for the elderly and disabled. And I was wondering if that was one of the issues that you had spoken with her about furthering the goal.
Actually, I haven't spoken to Lehua. I had that conversation with John. So in Lehua's case, I just saw her on the list, so that's how I knew. I'm not even sure if she's a Molokai representative, but I know she's a Molokai girl, and I know her well. So, yeah, but I haven't had conversation with her personally about evacuation plans, but just knowing who she is, I know she would support that.
Thank you.
Members, any other clarifying questions?
Sorry, Chair, just for the record, I just also wanted to say that I'm testifying on my own time and my own behalf.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No more clarifying questions. Thank you so much, Ms. Lindo. Do we have any other testifiers?
No, Chair. Would you like me to do a last call?
Please.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know. Oh, I do see someone has raised their hand. Christina Lynch, I'm going to make you a presenter right now so you can unmute. Christina, you should be able to unmute your microphone and camera now. It has been enabled.
Thank you for letting me.
Sorry, Christina, you're very quiet. Can you potentially get closer to your computer or change your mic settings?
Does that work?
That's
we
better.
can hear you. Thank you.
Does that work a little bit better?
Yes.
Does that work a little bit better? Okay, I'm testifying for Resolution 25 through 29, Conservation Planning Committee, for Vernon Colony Cow. I just want to say mahalo, Chair and Council members. Thank you for taking the time to hear what I have to say. I firmly believe that Maui would be fortunate to have Vernon Colony Cow as a member of the Conservation Planning Committee. Although I have only known Vernon for a short period of time, our connection has been profound and impactful. Through long conversations with various county members, I was eventually connected with Vernon. And from that moment, everything began to move forward quickly and efficiently. Vernon is a person of remarkable qualities. He is kind, knowledgeable, community-oriented, and deeply committed to protecting both the land and its people. In addition, he is resourceful, prompt, and consistently demonstrates a strong dedication to serving others. I cannot express enough how much Vernon has contributed not only to me personally, but also to my organization, Windwater Power. His guidance and assistance in ensuring that the right information reaches decision makers has been invaluable. His efforts have undoubtedly helped me and us make meaningful progress for the betterment of our island. For all these reasons, I wholeheartedly support Vernon Colony Cow appointed to the Conservation Planning Committee. I believe his unique perspective, skills, and dedication will make him an incredible asset to the community and our community. And I'd also like to add something in. My daughter was going to testify, but she had gotten called into work. My daughter was down towards the Fairmont, and there was a stream of water dirty water going right into the ocean. She called me and she said, "Mom, you know Vernon. Can you call Vernon and let him know that this is going on?" And I said, "I'll have Vernon call you." It took Vernon 2 minutes to call my daughter, which they have never met. Call my daughter, direct her into taking a video of the stream and describe it to him. He then was down there within a 20-minute period of time because he happened not to be in Kihei at that time. She waited for him. He drove down there, took samples, and brought it back to the county. That is dedication like no other. It wasn't a brush off. It wasn't a, we'll send somebody down there tomorrow. He took control of the situation and helped. And I believe that Vernon would be a great asset to Maui. And he is already, but an extra added bonus for everyone. And that's all. Mahalo, everybody.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Members, any clarifying questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Do we have anybody else signed up to testify?
There is nobody else. I can do another last call.
Please.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know, or on Microsoft Teams, please raise your hand. This is final call. 3, 2, 1. Chair, it appears that nobody wishes to testify.
Thank you. So we will begin. By resolutions 25-23 through 25-42, the mayor is nominating 31 individuals for various county boards, committees, and commissions for terms beginning on April 1st, 2025 and expiring March 31st, 2030 for the 5-year terms, and expiring on March 31st, 2028 for the 3-year terms. The council's 30-day deadline to approve or disapprove the nominations is February 28th, 2025, members. Copies of the board listing is being distributed now and uploaded onto Granicus. My intention for today is to first hear from the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Cynthia Lalo, to provide opening remarks on the mayor's nominations and any opening comments she wishes to provide for each of the nominees. Following that, I'll ask for testimony on the item, close public testimony, and get into discussion. At that time, I will take each resolution up one by one as they're listed on the agenda, beginning with Resolution 25-23, relating to the appointment of a member to the Affirmative Action Advisory Council. Then, members, we will have our opportunity for question and answers. As a courtesy, committee staff sent an email to all nominees making them aware that council received their names via the mayor's mass nominations resolution. We also asked for the mayor's office to see that they emailed them as well, which we know they did a few days ago. And contact information was sent to the members in case any of you want to meet with them directly prior to this conversation and prior to us nominating them officially at council. At this time, I'm going to please ask you, Ms. Lalo, to please provide us any opening statements you wish to do.
Thank you, Chair. And good afternoon, Government Relations, Ethics, and Transparency Committee. There, is that better? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to make an opening statement regarding the boards and commissions and the mayor's nominations. I want to thank all of the nominees that have taken the time to join us this afternoon on such short notice. Just acknowledging that. We have an amazing group of individuals, and the mayor would like to thank you for your willingness to serve and for your commitment to the community. It should be noted regarding the recruitment and the applications. In spite of our best efforts, we still continue to struggle with gathering enough applicants for our Molokai seats, Lanai and Hana. And I know we have this ongoing conversations, but anyway, I'm just putting a plug out there. Phone a friend and have them apply. Anyway, we're just going to make opening statements, and Chair, we will be monitoring, staff will be monitoring in case there's any questions. I should also note that Ms. Corey Vicens is not with us today. She won't be back until the 6th. So in relationship, we have all of her information and are happy to share anything it is that we have, but we'll be listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we get into discussion, members, can we please again receive testimony for this item, grade 2-1?
Chair, there's currently nobody who has signed up to testify. Would you like me to do a last call?
Please.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know, or on Microsoft Teams, please raise your hand. This is final call. 3, 2, 1. Chair, it appears that nobody wishes to testify.
Thank you. Members, saying there are no individuals wishing to testify without objection, I will now close oral testimony.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Somebody just raised their hand.
Please, let's hear them.
Lucy and Danae, you have been promoted, so you should be able to unmute your camera and microphone to start your testimony.
Okay. There we go. I have camera. I have microphone. Thank you very much. I'd like to testify about the appointments to the commission, and like to be in strong support of Kamalani being appointed. And she's a very, very hard worker, reads those papers. I've worked with her on a number of projects over the years. I've reached out to the classes that she's been involved with at the college. and she's had great follow-up on, volunteering to do things and then taking them on and then getting them done. It just seems like we need this kind of person serving on our commissions. And we need a voice from the East Maui community. So please strongly consider, we have a young, hardworking person willing to serve. That's rare. And she's also very qualified in terms of having cultural background and really willing to put in the work, read the documents and put in the work. So mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Day. Members, any clarifying questions before I officially close public testimony? Seeing none, thank you very much. Staff, do we, just in case, have anybody else signed up to testify?
We don't have anybody else signed up to testify. I could do another last call if you want.
Let's try it again.
If somebody would like to testify in the chamber, please let staff know, or on Microsoft Teams, please raise your hand. This is final call. 3, 2, 1. Chair, it appears that nobody wishes to testify.
Thank you. Members, at this time, considering there are no other people wishing to testify, without objection, I will now close oral testimony. Thank you very much. As a reminder, written testimony will continue to be accepted. All right, members, let's get into it. Let's jump right into the mayor's nominee for Affirmative Action Advisory Council. Do you have any other comments you want to provide? Okay. At this time, can I please ask you to come join us? Mr. Montalvo? I will ask you to introduce yourself, and at that time, members, we will have 3 minutes to ask any questions we so choose with a 1-minute follow-up round. Aloha, Mr. Montalvo.
Hello, Chair. Hello, Council. My name is Paul Montalvo. Deeply honored to have an opportunity to serve on the Affirmative Action Advisory Council. Has been appointed by Mayor Bisson. As a son of Maui County, I stand, before you with a firm belief in power of diversity and fairness and opportunity. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions? Member Paulton?
I don't know if this, I guess I could make it a question. Was this your first choice? Because I'd be happy to approve you to a more substantial committee. This one, I think, meets like once a year.
I'm open to helping my community in any way. It was what was presented to me at the time, but I'm open to anything, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to signal if you're interested in any more heavy hitter committees, I'm down.
Same here. I echo that.
I like it. Considering this committee only meets once a year, maybe he can do both.
Again,
I've had the great opportunity to work with Bo, and he's fantastic. So I would support him on this committee and any other one you so choose to serve on.
Thank you.
Members Anansi.
And thanks, Bo, for your willingness to serve. It says that you're the CIP coordinator. You currently work for the county?
Yes, currently in the Department of Management and Office of Recovery.
Oh, yeah, office. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Members, any other questions we have?
Would it be appropriate at this time to move him to letter B, approve?
Sure.
I'll make that motion.
Please.
Second.
Chair, sorry, can we begin with a motion to recommend adoption of the resolution first?
I move to recommend the adoption of resolution 25-23.
Can you please include any non-substantive revisions?
With any non-substantive revisions.
Thank you, Member Paulton.
Second.
Thank you, Member Senenzi. I have a second. Unless there's any further discussion?
I guess I'll amend it to move the nominee to letter B, approve.
Yes, to Exhibit B for approval.
To Exhibit B for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Hold on, it's been a while. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Aye.
Chair, I currently see 7 ayes, unless other members are online. Okay, 7 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Main motion is amended.
I thought. Main motion as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a quick one.
Did you want to say the two excused?
Oh, do you want to say the two excused?
Sure. Two excused are Councilmember Rollins Fernandez and Councilmember Sikimura.
Thank you. Hold on. I'm gonna have to take a 2-minute recess. I think the person who has my son is calling me, so let me answer this, and we will come back at 2:13. Thank you, members, for that brief recess. It is 2:16, and will the Great Committee please reconvene? Let's pick up where we left off, which is the mayor's nominees for the Animal Control Board. If we have Mr. Gurat and Mr. Larson in the audience? No? Do we have them online? Nope. Okay, let's not do that one then. Let's move on to Resolution 25-24, Board of Ethics. Huh? Thank you. We have with us Member Sugimura.
Sorry, I was late. Looking forward to an interesting meeting. Thank you for
Me
doing
too.
this.
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Chivo Ching Johnson online? Is he still with us? Okay, great. We do. I know he does have to leave.
My full name is Shirley Dotson, but I go by Sherry Dotson. I know many of you. I've agreed to serve on a board because I am trying to become semi-retired and have a lot more time on my hands. So I do like giving back to the community. I've done so my entire life. And I am what I tell everybody, I'm a recovering lawyer. I practiced for many years, but decided to do nonprofit work and thought it would be easier. Just a side note, it is not. But I stand by the principles I learned in law school, which is not to even give the appearance of impropriety, and I try to live my life that way. So I think the ethics board will be a nice fit, and I'm welcome to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dodson. Members, any questions for our nominee? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Dodson, for your willingness to serve. I just was wondering, have you attended or watched any of the meetings, and what kind of preview to this particular board and commission you were given by either the INB or the mayor's staff? Because it's kind of new for all of us, this procedure that we're going through here.
I did listen to one committee hearing early on when I first was approached about being on a board or committee, and I didn't seem too out of the ordinary. I have, worked with the county for many years on the nonprofit side and know of, ethic questions that have gone to the ethics board, both on the county and state level. I also worked on campaigns in the past, not so much since I've been in the nonprofit world. So I'm pretty familiar with, what issues come before the ethics board.
And did the INB or the mayor go over the attendance policy and things like that with you?
Yes, they did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Paulton. Members, do we have any other questions? Any members online? Double, triple check. No? Okay. I don't have any questions. I think your reputation of good work precedes you today. So thank you very much for being willing to serve the community. Ms. Dodson, do we have Chivo online? Okay, he did have to step away.
People whose reputation precedes themselves applying to the Board of Ethics.
Yep. Agreed. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Chair, that's 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excuse. Member Rollins Fernandez, motion carries.
Thank you. Now, main motion as amended. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 That's 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excuse. Member Rollins Fernandez, motion carries.
Thank you. Members, let's continue to move on to the Board of Variances and Appeals. Do we have Ms. Grimes with us or online? Please come to the front. Thank you so much. Aloha, Ms. Grimes. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, please.
Absolutely. Aloha, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited and honored to be able to serve the community, the island, in the best interest of the county. I am from Lahaina. My fiance, Kiahi, is a firefighter over there. His mom is Theo Morrison, who runs Lahaina Restoration. So we're a family. We did lose our home and our small business in the fire. So we've become very, very involved in the recovery process since that time. Our youngest of 5 children just entered university, so we became empty nesters. Have a little bit more time on our hands, which is kind of funny to say because rebuilding a home and a business is a lot of work in a community. But I really felt impassioned to throw my hat in the ring to serve as well. I feel that we've been supported so much, and I want to be able to give back at this point. Most of my experience comes from school board work and planning for 12 years. So government will be a pivot, but I'm excited and happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Members, before I have you guys ask her any questions, do you need a chair? Are you okay to stand?
I'm fine
for a
to
bit?
stand. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll try to keep it short. Members, any questions? Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Grimes, for your willingness to serve. My question centers around the Board of Variances and Appeals. These would be giving like exception to what the rules and laws are for rebuilding. Is that your understanding?
Well, when you say rebuilding,
building, rebuilding, any of those, like, exception to the existing rules for development purposes. Is that a better way to say it? Did you want to correct me? Go ahead.
I think that's right.
That's good? Okay.
yes, that is my understanding. And like everything, laws aren't perfect. So I understand that appeals need to be made. And I would definitely be a totally objective voice in those situations.
So then my next question is, what is your understanding of sea level rise, our new SMA rules and shoreline rules?
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in the new rules. We reviewed them. They're certainly affecting us. We don't live on the shoreline, but we were recently able to get a building permit because Governor changed the rules regarding SMA. We are in SMA and historic district. I do believe that all of those things need to be taken into consideration. And I would, have it be part of my duty to learn as much as I can from really the science. So, yeah.
So in your mind, what would qualify someone for variance in, like, say, a sea level rise area, or any reason really? I mean, not necessarily only the sea level rise. What kind of thing would sway you to grant the variance?
What kind of thing would sway me to grant a variance in a potential sea level rise zone? Is that the question?
Any potential development. What would be the criteria that you look for in granting a variance for any potential development? I mean, it could be in the sea level, it could be in the shoreline, it could be in the historic district, it could be none of the above.
Yeah, that's a difficult question for me to answer. I haven't really thought about specifically. I will say, being with a family that's very involved with the history of Lahaina, something that was related to a historical building. I mean, obviously 8 of them were lost and there's not very many left, but if something, say the courthouse, can we save the courthouse? I would be in favor of something like that.
Okay, that's my time.
Okay.
You can have a 1-minute follow-up if the other members don't have any questions. Okay, you can continue to go and I might have a question after.
Shoot, I got distracted by the bell. I had so many other questions, but And then, I guess, how would you try to be fair in the granting of the variances? Because I believe it's a unique situation only to that development or property. So how would you try to apply it evenly, and how would you address any issues of conflict of interest?
Are you speaking in relation to the courthouse that I just brought up, or just in general?
In general.
How to be fair?
Yes.
Well, I think, part of that is going to be hearing all of the testimony, looking at the facts, looking at the law, looking at the rules, and just making the best decision that can be made. I consider myself, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a daughter of a lawyer. My father served on his zoning, he's still serving at 80 on the Zoning and Planning Commission, and so these have been conversations throughout my life. And so I am
Awesome.
someone
I
who...
only have a minute. Oh, shoot. I just wanted to know, it says you lived in the county for 10 years.
Yes.
Where did you come from before that?
I came from, a couple places. I lived in Italy, I lived in Connecticut, and Arizona.
Oh, okay, cool. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Members, do we have any other questions? No? Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend the adoption of Resolution 25-26, including any non-substantive revisions. Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Sugimura and a second by Member Kama. Any further discussion? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend the following names: Allison Emily Grimes be placed on Exhibit B for approval. Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Kama and a second by Member Sugimura. Any further discussion? Do we need roll call? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Chair, that's 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excused. Motion carries.
Thank you. Now, made motion as amended. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Chair, 8 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excused. Member Rollins Fernandez, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Grimes.
Thank you.
Moving on. Members, I know we're a few rezos deep, but I want to let you know that we will do all the rezos, whoever is present with us today, unless anybody feels strongly about disapproving or approving any nominee if they're not here. To my understanding, they had a limited time for them to show up. They were just notified not too long ago. So we will do all of which we can do until about 4:30. And if we get done, great. Looks like that's not going to be the case. And then I will ask you for another time next week. But I just wanted to let you guys know midway through this conversation, because we have about 2 hours left and lots of rezos. So also, please let me know if you need a break. Let's continue with Civil Service Commission. If we have Mr. Jenkins with us, either in person or online. Yes, no, maybe so? Do we see him online? Because I don't see anybody standing up in the audience right now. No? Okay, let's move on. To children and youth members. Do we have Mr. Thonison online? How do we say his name? Tonelson. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Do we have him online? We do not see him in person.
Chair.
Yes, please.
I would like to move to adopt this reso. Mr. Tonneson works with the Children's Justice Center, and I met him right after the fires, advocating for kids and stuff, and I think he's a perfect fit for this committee.
Sounds good. Member Kama? Great. Then I would like to entertain a motion to recommend the adoption of Resolution 25-28, including any non-substantive revisions.
So moved.
I have a motion made by Member Paulton and a second by Member Kama. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would also like to entertain a motion to recommend Mr. Paul Tonneson. Okay. His name to be placed on Exhibit B for approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Paulton and a second by Member Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please. Aloha, Mr. Rollins. Mrs. Rollins Fernandez, Member Rollins Fernandez, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All of the above.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm back on, and Kalamai for having to step away without letting you know.
That's fine.
But I'm here for the vote.
Thank you very much. We are on the Commission on Children and Youth, and we have just moved to recommend Mr. Tonneson to place on Exhibit B. And I was just about to ask all members in favor to please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, members. Now, main motion as amended, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Conservation Planning Committee. I see Mr. Kalani Kao in the audience, so if you could please make your way down and introduce yourself. As a reminder, members, we will have a 3-minute questioning period with a 1 minute to follow up.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council. Good to see all of you this afternoon. Aloha. My name is Vernon Kalani Kao. I'm nominated, or probably reappointed. We're going to try for that one, for the Conservation Planning Committee. That's the one me and you was on, and others that I think we only met twice. But it's important that we get that rolling, hopefully. Not sure what the dynamics is, all of that. So that's why I'm here, you know, to get on that planning commission, continue, and hope we can get that going, because it impacts a lot of what we're doing in our environment and for conservation, open space, funding. I know we were challenged trying to work on like one green print, you know. We didn't know where to start, how they would look like. All of us that try to work on that, and then we entertaining the idea of $300,000 funding to fund somebody with a contract to help us create this green print. And then COVID happened, and then everything else happened. So yeah, just here to continue what I always do for some time, since 2008. This is easy for me, because I forget to change clothes before I came here. I never stopped home. I came straight from the gulch, you know, and watching the public works put the pohaku, you know, on the road. We're always patching that section, and we hope that the pohaku stay there this time. So always engaging what makes sense, you know, the impacts or no impacts. It's always a challenge. And you all guys know, like South Maui, you know, we never have our fire. We don't want our fire. I mean, Lahaina is enough already. But we can have our fire, we can have tsunami, but you add the flooding, and that will never go away because of Mauka and because South Maui all built in the wetlands. So I get ideas, Councilmember Cook, hopefully Therese Amato and McKelvey, you know, we gotta do something. So that's all I have for now. And any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Kalani Kao. Members, any questions? Member Pauten.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kalani Kao, for your willingness to serve. One of the concerns I think that this body has been having is with county-owned lands and our liabilities. You know, Kamehameha Schools, I think, was having to pay like $900 million because the fire started on their land. And they're, I guess, seen as deep pockets, which the county could be seen similarly. So I was wondering about the ideas you have to decrease our liabilities on county-owned land, or how, you know, if we're coming to you with a piece of land to purchase, how that'll be addressed.
Yeah, so this came from, of course, Mayor down to her name, Corey. So the first thing was, so I going to participate in this, and Cynthia, you guys can correct me if I'm, I doing this as Vernon, right? Not as one county employee. So, so the idea, and it's just ideas only because of the flooding, because they're just being creative for just addressing flooding. So, I'm just gonna go back somewhere like for wetlands, for example. In South Maui, you guys all know I co-founded Save the Wetland Hui. And you know that Hui, and even other wetland guys, they like rely on this conservation planning committee for open space, for funding, and so on. And I'm just going to talk about the wetland if that helps. In South Maui, I don't see that today. Wetlands. That's a lot of them is more retention basin. One wetland would be like Welakahao, much bigger, something like Kaiehu, Olowalu, Ukamehami. I change my view on that. Just saying that some of those areas is more retention because all sides are covered with development. So that's just a retention just for there. So it's not a wetland. So I changed my views on that. So how we would fund that? Do we fund that? I don't know. And for the county parcels, there's an idea. It's not my idea, but that idea gonna come probably my way for me to manage that. We might be contracting somebody outside to manage county parcels, the easements. I don't know how that's going to impact the Conservation Planning Committee. I'm pretty sure it's going to come our way. So I think what you're asking too is how that's going to impact me as a servant and then the county parcel as a county employee. How am I going to decide and make, is there going to be a conflict? That crosses my mind. So that helps. Does that help?
Did you get the answer you were looking for?
No. Yeah. So
I'll let other members if they had any questions.
Because so I doing this as Vernon, and I'm going to continue to do that as Vernon. So
if
I don't
helps,
know
if I clarify, like you mentioned the Olowalu. I don't know if you've driven by mile marker 13.5 recently. It's a county-owned parcel that has so much rubbish, abandoned vehicles. For me, and it's a dry area most of the time, if there were a fire in there, I personally would be hesitant to send our firefighters in there because there's so much toxic stuff. And we as the county, as one of the landowners there, that's our responsibility. And as the Conservation Planning Committee, I'm okay with the outside company managing it I think anybody would do a better job. And so I guess I'm just asking, I know that your focus area of specialty is Kihei wetlands. If you would consider in this role taking on these areas that the county owns that have the potential to be a big problem because it feels as though they aren't being addressed, and it could be a significant impact to the county as a whole if bad things were to happen, fire, people die, or toxic stuffs.
Yeah, so I've been there a couple of times, documented all that, and just update you guys. The admin sending me to the Hawaii Wildfire Workshop, the end of this month. So something gonna happen with that for me. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna have Kuliana for that, Firewise. Currently, I co-manage with Maria Ornelas Caeju. If this entity gets the contract as a pilot to manage county easement, that's gonna be on my watch too. So yeah, a lot of times I spend in Kulakai, but I'm really all out there. I'm in Pihana, Tashakama, Shane. I'm working close with Naomi to make that happen. But so my role as the environmental officer for county is the resource, the cultural, the environmental impact. So with Pihana, I don't like that project. That is Kapulu, you know, but we're going, my role is we're going to try, but then I don't like it. I don't like, because the Aina first, it gets beat up, you know, by these homeless people, and it's not like we saying we no more compassion. I cannot. So I'm being creative, you know. We're gonna do something, and I gotta go out there again sometime this week, Friday or next week, because I have ideas, you know. But I'm not alone when I go come up with something. But yeah, I don't like what they do to the Aina, and I'm going to say it right here, right now, that comes first before the man. The land comes first before the man. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think I got my answer, but for mile marker 13.5, I think it's also our homed people as well, because appliances and things like that. But yeah, I thank you. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, that compared to what happened to South Maui, what we have on the beach and the water is that kind of level. You know, it's beyond. Yep.
Thank you. Members, any other questions for Mr. Kalanikau? Nope. Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend the adoption of Resolution 25-29, including any non-substantive revisions.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Sugimura, second by Member Kama. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion to place Mr. Vernon Kalanikau on Exhibit B for approval.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Cook, second by Member Kama. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Chair, that's 9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, members. Motion as amended, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, members. Let's move on to Council on Aging. Do we have Mrs. Hanson or Mrs. Watanabe available, either in person or online? Ms. Hanson is online.
Right here.
Ms. Hanson, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Oh, it tastes like clam. It is. Really.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, I am a retired physician and I've lived on Maui for about 3 years, originally from California. I'm really excited at the opportunity to give back to the community, which has been such a welcoming place for me and full of beautiful people with a lot of challenges, as all of you are well aware. And one of those relates to the aging population. It affects all of Hawaii, but Maui in particular, and the needs of the kupuna. And I hope I can help everybody with that.
Sorry, members, one quick second. Sorry, members, we're trying to figure out what happens when we may only have one person available and then what we do from there. Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Members, any questions? Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Hanson, for your willingness to serve. And this will be my kind of like my question to both of the nominees. In the August wildfires, it was a lot of our elderly folks that we lost. And to me, I don't feel that we've made significant progress in evacuation efforts specifically for our elderly or disabled. And I'm trying to work with the Council on Aging, Commission on Persons with Disabilities, as well as the Fire and Public Safety Commission to follow other counties' leads. I recently was in DC and spoke to someone from Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, and they have a registry of folks, that need additional assistance. And I was wondering if this could be made like a priority by you and your colleagues on the Council on Aging, if that was, if you were to be approved to this council?
Absolutely, I think that's a critical priority. Kupuna are a treasure and a resource for the entire community and need to be prioritized, absolutely.
Thank you. There was also a high number of folks that utilize MEO paratransit, were victims of the fire and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of asking that you go beyond just the Council on Aging. I've spoken to the executive director of Halemaha Olu. They lost a great number of their residents, Halemaha Olu Yayono. And so I'm just looking for big effort here.
Yeah, I think it would be, as you say, important to work with the Council on Disability, because those two issues are pretty closely related, as you say.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Members, anybody else have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Ms. Hanson. Ms. Watanabe? Aloha, thank you for joining us.
Hi, aloha.
If you would like to introduce yourself, please.
Aloha, my name is Nani Watanabe, and I am formerly on the State Rehab Council, and I'm very much involved in the Maui Deaf Friends. And I'm also with the State of Hawaii Council on Developmentally Disabled, and I'm their communications specialist, and I'm volunteering.
Thank you very much. Members?
Would you like?
Hi.
Would you like for me to give you more information about my background?
We're going to have the members ask questions, and it'll most likely come up. And we're going to start with Member Johnson.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Ms. Watanabe. Members, I don't know if you know Ms. Watanabe, but she's been a strong force, a strong advocate within Maui County. She's from Lanai originally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nani, I think you had a member of your family who was deaf, and that's how she learned American Sign Language. So her lived experience is really valuable, and I just want to thank you once again for your willingness to serve, Nani. And I just, members, I'm rising in full support of her nomination. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Member Johnson. And you're absolutely right. And that was the beginning of my life and understanding the role of a person having a disability. And it really started there. And you're right, it was a family member. And through her, I was able to understand and become who I am today. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Sugimura, did you have questions?
I actually want to just speak in strong support of Nani. And Yes, she is formerly from Lanai, but I will tell you that this morning we approved the Maui Fair, and she has been a strong advocate of Festivals of Aloha. I worked with her with Aloha Festivals of Aloha. So Nani, you're going to be very, very busy because now we're going to have a fair. But I fully support her for this. And if you talk to her in person, she speaks with her hands, like very animated, like, you know, doing sign language and describing whatever she's, trying to express. I just adore her. So I strongly advocate and support her. Please let us vote.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I'd like to disclose that I'm related by marriage, but it won't affect my decision-making abilities. And I'd like to ask the same question about evacuation process and procedure as a priority for things to work on the Council of Aging and your roles in disability. I think we have a lot of progress to make as we see what happened in August of 23.
Thank you, Councilmember Paulton. Yes, I think by giving you the reason on why I wanted to, my term on the commissions on persons with disability ended, and I just felt that my being on the Council of Aging ties into commissions on persons with disability, because as seniors are aging in place, they also experience disability. So they could lose their vision, mobility impairment. It could be a whole, it could be a diverse. So I felt the support and the knowledge that I have could support our senior and our kupuna population. Definitely, I am a senior, so I kind of fit in this category. But one of the things that I saw during the devastation was the knowledge of people that had a mobility impairment, hearing loss, vision loss. It was diverse, and there was not a go-to support, like, what do we do? What do we do? I worked very hard with the Maui Deaf Friends because there was deaf individuals that was affected by the fire. When communication is lost, it is hard to contact anyone with a disability or hearing loss that's in that area. And for years, we've been working on communication. How could we improve with the fire department, the police department? So I just wanted to share that in my background, I feel being on the Council on Aging, I bring in navigation and the resources available to meet the needs of these individuals. Education and awareness to include training with services for our seniors, our community, and our kupuna and our community. We also, I feel that I can bring in support services for our seniors and our kupuna that live with a disability, and to include education again and training, not only for the kupuna, but it includes the family. And I'm also very concerned about our kupuna that is taking care of an adult child with a disability, because I have been aware of that, and they're like, where do I go? What happens if I pass away? Who's going to take care of my child? And I also had experience in home health. I worked with home health for 5 years, and how I believe in maintaining independence. How do we maintain our kupuna, and how do we maintain their independence? It's through advocacy, it's accessibility, it's ADA, it's making sure that they understand. I understand the diverse cultures on disability, and I also understand our diverse culture that we live in. So I feel that we need to strengthen this area by bringing in training. And I've heard from the departments that they too look forward to training, because when an officer approaches a person that is deaf, many of the comments from the deaf community is the officer don't know how to communicate. How do they communicate? And then they take a pen and paper and then they write. Mind you, many of the individuals with disability, especially in the deaf community, their education level differs. So they could be an adult with a lower education level. So they don't understand exact English. So definitely in this area, interpreting services is very much needed. And that has been a struggle on Maui because many of the interpreters left the island because of work. And so interpreters need to be brought in from the other islands. And also, and I know in my experience when I worked with independent living, when the firemen came and I had a client that was a quadriplegic. One of the things, if a fire starts, it's drop and roll. How does a quadriplegic really drop and roll? So these were like, I mean, the fire department really was very, was like, oh, they didn't realize that. So, and basically when I work with my clients, they are the educators because every person on a wheelchair, their needs are different. It's not because one is on a wheelchair and we service them all the same. It's all different. The way the way you take care of them, et cetera, et cetera. So education in the disability community has been lacking for many years. The way that we can, I feel, that it can be a clearer understanding is providing education and training. And this didn't come just from me, but it came from many of the clients with disabilities. And they said, Nani, they need training. They need to know how to handle me when I'm blind, when I'm a quadriplegic. If there's a fire, my wheelchair is my legs, you know. So if you look at that, and it seems so so much to learn by, but honestly, once you that simple training on the disability individuals makes a big difference. And basically, many of my experience was from training, being around them, and they taught me what I know today. And they actually are the ones that know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions we have? Okay. If not, online. Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Ms. Watanabe. Mahalo for your continued service on boards and commissions. I won't ask my usual questions because I know that your attendance is always stellar and your contribution and how you want to contribute. My question is in response to the information that you just provided us and knowing that you helped to create the plan for Office on Aging with ADRC, that what I'm hearing with the training that you're envisioning for, county employees, particularly the police and others in specific ways, do you envision yourself like talking with the council and then proposing like a budget so that we can fund these ideas?
Yes, and I think if we're looking at approaching the council, and if we're looking at outreach and education, funding is what we need. I mean, did I kind of get your question correct? Okay.
Perfect.
So funding is definitely what is needed. Funding, and then right now we're trying to figure out how can we create a one-stop shop, which actually takes care of everything, because to fund the separate services is so expensive. But and disability and if you look at the kupuna, we start from the keikis all the way to the aging. So a one-stop shop would make it very feasible, I think, for Maui County. And I always feel that Maui is so different. We are one ohana, and we work differently in our community.
I look forward to discussing your proposals. I fully support your nomination. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions before we move on?
I'm okay to vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you guys have any financial interest together, yes?
No financial interest.
Perfect.
yeah.
That's what we need to hear. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend adoption of Resolution 25-30, including any non-substantive revisions. I have a motion made by Member Sugimura and a second by Member Kama. Any further discussion? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend the following names: Ms. Hansen and Ms. Watanabe, to be placed on Exhibit B for approval. I have a motion made by Member Sugimura and a second made by Member Kama. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair, that's 9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you, members. All made motion as amended, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you, members. Before we move on with fire, I do see Mr. Pele in the audience. I'm going to take a 15-minute recess to come back at 3:20. Bio break, please. I will see you guys in a few. Welcome back, great committee. The time is 3:24, and let's pick up where we left off. But before we do, I would like to get a couple of things out of the way. As a reminder, majority of these nominations came from the INB. I believe there were 5 that the INB didn't provide any selection to the mayor, and therefore the mayor selected his own. You might notice that some people's applications are dated January 27th. I think there's 5. If you want, we can provide you the list. Those people did not go through the INB process and therefore was selected by the mayor, and the mayor sent his nominations down to us.
Oh, Chair.
Yes.
I just noticed, point of information, I don't know if it can be resolved before first reading, but Miss Hanson,
Yes.
Margaret Elizabeth Hanson, did not sign her application.
At that time, I plan to stop where we are and take whatever nominees we have, either in person and online, and take a moment to allow them to introduce themselves and ask them questions before we adjourn, so they don't have to rejoin us next week and spend another afternoon with us, even though we are fantastic to clearly spend time with. But that is my plan, members. So from now until about 4:10-ish, if you could let me know at that time at 4:10 whether or not you're available either Monday or Wednesday, I would appreciate it. And right now we're going to continue on with Resolution 25-31 with Fire and Public Safety. If Mr. Pele.
Chair, question?
Yes.
Regarding your Monday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
Are you looking at Monday morning or Wednesday morning, or it doesn't matter? You want a time and date?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Please let me know. Either Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. Either kind of work for me, but to avoid a very lengthy discussion at that time, if we can just all figure out what kind of works best for us now-ish. Now-ish. Aloha, Mr. Pele, if you could please introduce yourself, and then the members will have an opportunity to ask you questions.
Aloha, Chair and committee members. My name is John Pele, and it is wonderful to be here today for your consideration of the Fire and Public Safety Commission. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Officially on the application, it's Tau Pele. Fire away.
Oh, perfect.
No pun
I was like
intended.
waiting for more.
No pun intended.
Members, any questions? I know Member Paulton has questions, so I'll let her begin. Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Tau Pele, for your willingness to serve, as well as for your assistance with the elderly and disabled. Needs a lot of work given our last catastrophe. What kind of plans, or how would you bring us up to par?
Thanks for that question. Well, the commission, I was able to tune in. You know, I did find out last minute that I was up for nomination. So you got to look at the January 16th, and it was quite impressive to watch the MEMA presentation. And you know, they did talk about the integrated preparedness plan and their 5 priorities. And actually, number 2 is public info and getting the awareness out there. That's on their long-term planning, on their long-term planning report. So the 5 is operational coordination, public information and awareness, how to get the message out there. Situational awareness within the community and the workers. Mass care services was number 4, and community resilience was number 5. So it's pretty, as I watched the meeting, I'll share in all honesty, I was really impressed how involved MEMA is in this commission, and they led most of the conversations, and they have a lot going on. And like everybody else, they're facing staff shortages too, right? I think they have 15 approved positions, 22 approved positions, 15 budgeted. So they're going to have to come for this body to seek some amendments and funding. But that's who I would lean on, is to follow their integrated plan that they created.
So do you think that evacuation is one size fits all, and that
No, definitely not. I mean, I would, and again, when I interview with INB, I let them know clearly that I am not an expert. I am not a fireman. I'm not a firefighter. And when I look at things, I'll try to look through clarity and not conviction. So I'm there to receive information and think clarity with my expertise and what I know, but definitely from reviewing some of the AG reports and what you guys have seen, it's not one size fits all. I don't think it is, especially with the elderly, right? You mentioned Holly Maho'olu, and we all know what happened there, right? So.
I just would say, like, in response to what you're saying, I have no problem support MEO paratransit guests that have special needs, and given our recent history, I think that's an area that needs to be prioritized. And so I'm just asking that if put on this board, that's something that is done, that it's kept front of mind.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I think, when people ask me what the committee is about, I just go to the 3 R's. That's what it's spelled out. So it's review operations, of course, right? And then make recommendations. But the last one is important too, right? Is to report. We take public input, right? And we do reports and we do findings and we ask the deep questions that, and I don't want to offend anybody, but sometimes we're in our own lane, per se, and people can think in their box. So me as a commissioner, perhaps I have the opportunity to think a little bit more wide range, where some of the entities do try to fit within their criteria. And so I think that's where the advantage is, especially when it comes from listening to the community, right? We're all doing our civic duty.
Member Rollins Fernandez has a question for you.
Sorry, excuse me.
Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha, Mr. Pele. Mahalo for your willingness to serve on the Fire Commission. I won't ask about your attendance because your attendance was stellar on the Molokai Planning Commission. So my other 2 questions that I usually ask candidates are, one, if you've had any experience with the commission that you've been nominated for, if you've watched the meetings or reviewed the meeting minutes, and then 3, if you would share with us a little more about your vision on how you plan to contribute. And then since you're specifically for the Molokai seat, any thoughts you'd like to share with us regarding that position?
Oh, thanks for the question. I don't have a lot of experience with, other than what my reviews of the meetings for the commission. I find the minutes really hard to, they're kind of, the agendas are kind of almost all the same. So you got to go on YouTube and watch the meetings and things like that. So that's what I've been doing. And like I stated, I was really impressed moving forward at the vision that they have, especially involving MEMA, involving the fire department. He mentioned Councilmember Paulton and Chair Lee working with Hopi Farms and the work that they're trying to do to get that place under, the fire chief gave that. Yeah. And then with Councilmember Kama on housing and how, he's not going to waive a lot of the permits, but he'll work with owners to try to get the burn zones rebuilt. And for me, what I'm going to try to bring is, I have a little bit of experience. Like I said, I'm not a professional firefighter. I was a part of a community association that I managed for 14 years, and we were a Firewise property. That's not any level to what you're seeing and our professionals do, but we did have benchmarks that we had to meet in certain criteria as far as fire protection. And as Council Member Paulton said, I'll try to do the job as best I can to represent the community and bring concerns and forth to our commission. And I know it's a hard line to draw, right? It's not a yes man. And I appreciate that being said, because that's an important thing to know, that you're not a yes man, because you're not really representing the community when you have that kind of mindset. That's my belief. And I don't know if that answers your question, Councilmember Rollins Fernandez. So if I haven't, please, I can expound, and you can yell at me or.
No, I think that answered the question. Your experience and how you envision contributing to the commission. I think one of the things that we'll be working on with the fire department is the updated fire code. There are some amendments that we discussed, but we had to adopt it by the end of last year. So we're kind of in a pinch. Not sure if the fire commission reviews that, but we'll be all working on that this year. I fully support your nomination. Mahalo for serving. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez. Members, any further questions? If not, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Pele. Members, unfortunately, Mrs. Green, or Miss Green, however she would like to be addressed, is not with us right now. If you wouldn't mind remembering John's introduction and our questions, and we will place this reso on hold, and we will move on, and when we reconvene, we will bring this and the others back up. Member Sukimura?
So can we approve him? and
Cannot, because
take-
it's on one reso.
Oh, they didn't separate it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. What do we do if we don't have an opportunity to interview a nominee and we don't really know her just yet? But thank you, John. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your time. And we will hold this one and get back to it next week. And again, as a reminder, please let us know what time works best for you. So we are going to move on then to the Housing Advisory Board. Let's go in the list we have here. So if Mr. Curtis is available, is he with us? If he is online, if you could please introduce yourself and the members will have an opportunity to ask you some questions. I don't think we do have all five, so
There we go.
we're gonna have to do the same. Aloha, Mr. Curtis, if you would like to introduce yourself and the members will then have an opportunity to ask you questions.
Okay, you've got quite a bit on your schedule. I'll try and keep this brief. Resident of Maui since '88. Worked for general contractors every year except for one, where I was a transportation director at MEO during the housing slowdown. I know that it's a brand new board, so haven't been able to observe the process there. Experience, I've been on one state board previously, the Board of Tax Review, which was kind of a appeals board that the state had, and that's no longer in existence. I did 5 years on the Board of Ethics, and I'm currently entering my second year on the Salary Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Members, do we have any questions? Members, okay, I was gonna say your mic is on. Okay, I don't think Member Cook, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis, for your willingness to serve. Do you have just your thoughts of the Housing Advisory Board? What are your thoughts about being on the board and some of the ways that we could move that forward?
It seems the main emphasis in the charter was people that were involved in financing and development, and I do not bring that to the table. I'm more on the back end of the project execution, and I think that's the value I can bring to the board. I'm currently involved in a affordable housing project as a subcontractor. We're the site work people, so I've got familiarity with infrastructure. I've done a lot of county. The past 12 years, I've been doing county and private public works for the most part. Roadway improvements, culvert repairs. Was at the airport doing paving the night of the fire. And it was a surprise to everybody that what was going on the other side of the mountain there.
Thank you. So that answers my question. Basically, you have a hands-on for basically the building industry and for housing.
Yeah, I think where I can provide input would be potential bottlenecks on, just getting regular people, regular housing. I mean, I understand all the, what we have to go through for larger scale developments, but if there's ways we could help streamline single family, either rebuilding or housing on land that's already zoned residential, it's already got its infrastructure in. If there's ways to maybe simplify the permit process to get people to build their houses quicker on land that's already approved, I could provide input on that. I've done multifamily. I was on Lanai 20 odd years ago. We did the teachers housing, or we called it the teachers housing. It's right below Coeli Lodge. That was one of the projects I worked on market housing. Did 300 homes over in Kauai and Kapa'a for a Maui-based company. So I've got.
Thank you. You answered my question. You got experience. Thank you for your willingness to serve. That's all, Chair.
Thank you. Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Curtis, for your willingness to serve. I see you not only serve, but you continue to serve, and that's awesome. I just was wondering how you would address any conflicts of interest.
I would, being on ethics, I'm completely familiar with that and don't have a problem recusing myself. If a lot of it's the development side, as a subcontractor, but my employer potentially could be involved in that, and if that was for TJ Gomes Trucking is my employer. If it was one of their projects, I would certainly recuse myself, even though I don't have any financial interest in the development or the company.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Paulton. I'm going to go with Member Rollins Fernandez, followed by Member Johnson.
Mahalo, Chair. I was actually wondering if anyone from the administration is on, because this is a brand new board. I was curious about what kind of things would be on their agenda. Like, what would they be approving,
That's a great question. Let's triple check if anybody from admin is involved. And I had the same question as you when we were tasked with doing this. I will let you know that I looked it up, but somebody else is probably better to answer this question because I do have more questions as well. But to answer yours, this board is tasked with advising, aiding, and supporting the director's efforts to create affordable housing. What that means specifically, not too sure.
Yeah, right. I read the charter and I saw that it exempts this Housing Advisory Board from Section 13-2 regarding geographic residency requirements, and that's why 4 out of the 5 are from the same residency. So that's okay, according to this. Although, my preference would be some kind of diversity. But Member Paulton's question kind of spurred my question a little more, because then what would he need to recuse himself if there's any projects? Would they be reviewing projects? What projects would go to the Housing Advisory Board over like the Maui Planning Commission? The Maui Planning Commission or the other planning commissions have very specific duties and functions. So
Corp Counsel is here, and she's adjusting her mic like she has something to say, so please
perfect.
go.
Okay, great. I will mute myself.
No, and I think that's a great question, and that's something definitely we would look into as well. But I think the way I'm reading the charter is not so much the development that's already happening, but more of kind of like a future, if we're to do this, what should we do, or where should we should we do things? So it seems like it's more of a general advice to the housing department itself. So this might be something that if it's going to be a more specific thing, after the board is established, the board may need to do like an admin role to kind of define what they are supposed to do, what not. So I'm not sure if the mayor's office necessarily would know. I don't know if the Department of Housing would have any ideas on what they will be asking this board. So that might be something to consider.
Mahalo for that. And then would council be able to send items for their review? I mean, we've talked about different policies that we've discussed, such as amending, the 2.96 requirements of the 25% affordable rental for the duration that it would remain affordable. Remember Paulton's bill? Owner occupied in perpetuity, creating programs. So other than the construction and like vertical construction, infrastructure, et cetera, policies that reclaim our housing or that once housing is built will remain residential housing. Those kinds of things. Would we be able to send like how we do to the Maui Planning Commission? Oh, that was for Corp Council.
Yeah,
if she has answer.
She's looking at.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the charter section. It doesn't directly say that council could send anything. I will do more research and get back to you, but that's my short answer. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, but the charter doesn't say we can't. Okay, very good. All right, then we can. All right, so mahalo, Mr. Curtis, for your patience as we suss out what this new board can and cannot do, and mahalo for your willingness to go on this adventure with us with this new board. My question, I just have one question because it seems like you've already explained your contribution, and there's no experience with this board because it's new, and it looks like your attendance is good with the other boards and commissions that you've served on. The question is, if you've reviewed the Maui County Affordable Housing Plan, I can't, it was something like that, in 2021, 22?
Comprehensive Affordable Housing Plan?
Thank you, Member Johnson.
Sorry to jump in.
Not specifically yet, but I will look it up right now or right after this meeting. And again,
Wonderful.
It's very vague in the charter. I've seen the charter language. I'm curious as to how this board will evolve. And my term is only for 1 year, that we've got these staggered terms on this first thing. So we may just be gelling on what this commission or this board does before I even leave. One thing I did do at ethics is I was kind of spearheading the implementation of the online financial disclosure statements. So the Board of Ethics could spend more time looking at, we spent most of our time reviewing financial disclosures, and I thought that was something that we could streamline. So that's kind of an organizational thing I've done in the past. As another...
You're hired. You created that? Oh man, you got
we as a board, we created it, but I had to fill that out on the state side, and I'd go, well, I think the county could do this too. And we just need to get a little bit of funding to get the software written, and it allows more time for ethics to focus on the more important things, I thought.
Absolutely. The online system has just been wonderful. I love it. And mahalo for looking into the comprehensive affordable housing plan. And generally, when boards and commissions duties and functions are more vague, it kind of is whatever the board, the direction that the board wants to take it. Just like the Youth Commission, Council on Aging, it's like as advocates, go and create great recommendations for administration and council. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez. Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Curtis. Appreciate all the work and some of the things that you mentioned really sparked my interest. One of the things you said was that you were the subcontractor for the housing on Lanai that you called the teacher housing below the lodge at Koele.
I worked for the general contractor. It was JDH Construction, so that was one of the projects I managed.
Was that Evioli, you mean?
It's the multi-story. They're the fourplex and the eightplex.
Yep.
Right below Koele Lodge. So Pineapple was. We watched the last harvest while that was going on there, and all of our workers got fed because the commissary was still open. But that's what 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, and that housing is now called Evioli. It's a LIHTC project. I assume it was a LIHTC project when you worked on it. I don't know that, but I will say thank you because I used to live in that house, in those apartments. So to have someone who actually built affordable housing project rentals on Lanai, that's probably one of the hardest places to build because we're at the end of the supply chain. The boats go back empty. The costs jump up. So I'm really curious to have your voice on that board because you can speak to some of the challenges on the outer islands, right? It can't only be Maui focused, of course, just like Maui say it can't be Oahu focused. So I really appreciate your lived experience on that, and thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And we also built the conference center down below, and then the beach bathroom at Manele Bay.
We got a lava rock? Great.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, Member Johnson. Member Kama.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Curtis, for being here and answering our questions. And I'm glad that you did say that you did read the charter regarding the Department of Housing and Human Concerns, the Advisory Council. So, I was reading it too, and under Section 8-10.3, it says the power and duties and functions, and it has, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. And the thing that struck me, it says, that's to strive to effectively address the health, safety, and basic social needs of all segments of the county community and to enhance the quality of life for all residents. What does that mean to you, and how would you implement that?
Mr. Curtis, your mic is muted.
Having pulled building permits for single-family houses for almost 35 years, when we did Hawaiian Homes in Pakokalo, I was able to pull 30 permits at a time, and it was the way it flowed was differently. But I think part of the change there is how the banks finance these projects as well, where they instead of granting a developer 30 homes, they want to get 30 qualified people, and each one is financed individually. So that might be some of the changes, but there were, we've got companies on the island, HPM, Miyake, Hansador, that have standard house packages. And if we could maybe get some pre-approved, streamlined house packages, it would cut down the processing time at the building permit part. We're not talking big fancy homes. We're just talking basic kind houses. I live in a Arizumi Hicks Homes that was built in 1959. And that might be a way to help the average person maybe cut their costs and either building a new home or renovating an existing house. And And so focus more on affordable housing. The big apartment buildings, you've got to let the developers do that. And that's one of the projects I'm working on right now is PEKA, but in between Azeka and Safeway. There's a lot of moving parts to do an apartment building, but I think for the average person, a single family home might be something that we could have some assistance in making that easier to get something approved and through the system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Kama. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Curtis. We are gonna move on to our other nominees. Have to make sure not to call them applicants because we learned that there's a difference. So I believe it's you, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name even though you just told me it. But Dennis, if you could please join us at the podium and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, committee and council members. My name is Dennis Chinaev. Okay? I want to serve. I'm retired. I've been retired for a long time. I've traveled around the country for 7 years in an RV, getting to see what people do in other places. My background is architecture, urban planning, history. I used to run building, planning, public works departments for cities. Went to the private side, probably built close to 10,000 houses, or in charge of construction of 10,000 houses in all price ranges, all over the place. As a matter of fact, I worked for one company. We had a helicopter I had to go to get all these places. That was fun. Worked for an Indian tribe in California that became the largest Indian casino in California, but more than that, I took them from essentially living in very small units to housing that was affordable for them, economical to build and install the infrastructure for that. I worked for Kaiser Aluminum along the way. We had a 100,000 acre project, which I ended up being the general manager for, commercial, industrial, and that's my history. I taught urban planning in colleges, guest lecturer. But more importantly, what I see now is, sitting, doing nothing, essentially. I have the time and the desire to help Maui. I see it as an opportunity to bring some new ideas to a long festering problem on Maui. As I understand it, this board was created really as a result of the fires. And it was, in reading the literature on it, the combination of all the agencies coming together and saying, how can we build affordable housing, not only to replace what we had, but also to house new workers, keeping our existing people here on Maui and the new generations that are coming up here on Maui. I don't view it as, I didn't view this position as something where we would get projects to review, like the Planning Commission, that's their job. I viewed it more conceptually, is that how do we bring affordable housing? What are some of the ideas that we can have? How do we cut through red tape? You've got the governor saying we need affordable housing, you got the mayor, you got everybody and their brother saying we need affordable housing, but nobody's been able to produce it, except since the fire, we've seen FEMA just open their units in Lahaina. I've watched the church over by Walmart and watched those units. They have units that have gotten built and have just sat there because of bureaucratic red tape. And so that's the number one area I want to look at, is how we can bring everybody who's involved in reviewing, approving, and seeing that the affordable housing can get built. I also want to look at how we can finance things that are out of the box. I've developed did some of the largest assessment districts in the state of California for infrastructure installation. There can be housing corporations, if they're already created, they can be brought in to help build and finance projects. We could look at federal, state, and local, federal, state, and local land, county land, for the land that is needed. We could look at working with the development community who know what it takes to build a house. And I'm talking about what are the components that make up the cost of a house. You know, we know it's the land, we know it's the sticks, we know it's the governmental processing, it's the financing cost. Time is money to the development community. How can we cut the time that they have to sit and pay interest on money to build a project that might not currently be able to be built for a couple of years, if not longer? How can we bring everybody together, bring all the departments together and say, I've got these rules and I've got these rules and my rules are more important than your rules? How can we say, these rules have got to benefit the whole island, all the people of the island, not your fiefdom, not your fiefdom, but come together in a reasonable manner with reasonable conditions and in a reasonable time frame. One of the cities I worked at, everybody was doing that. And we said, okay, nothing's going to the planning commission unless we get the planning department would make the conditions. The departments would look at all the conditions, and if you didn't have your conditions in by a certain time, you're going to get approved without a condition. So either show up, give us your conditions, or get out of the way. And we cut the processing time dramatically doing that. I'm talking too much about what I did, but that's the things I see that need to be happening with this Housing Advisory Committee. We work for the Housing Department. You know, we recommend things to the Housing Department. We're not the Planning Commission. I view it as being innovators, thinkers, thinking out of the box if necessary, but coming up with ideas how we can bring affordable housing to Maui. I looked at the project, the quote, affordable housing project in Haile Maile. All you have to do is drive down the street and see the number of street signs within less than a quarter of a mile. Each one of those signs costing about $1,300. And I think I remember correctly, there's 14 or 15 signs in a quarter mile. Street sign after street sign after street sign saying, telling you what to do. That didn't need to be built. I talked to the guys that were building that project. They built a sidewalk 8 feet wide along Haile Maile Road that goes one end of the project to the other project and ends, and yet there's a county park just a little ways farther, and they could have narrowed the size of that sidewalk and extended it over to the park so that people who live in that project could go to the park. I mean, people say it's affordable, but I don't think they really mean it. And somehow this council has got to take action to make affordable housing affordable, and I think that's our job, is to recommend ideas on how that could happen.
Thank you very much. Members, do we have any questions? Before we do get into questions, I will say, Casey just came over obviously a minute ago or so, and we're trying to figure out the terms of the seats. She said they're all from now, yeah, they're staggered, but it's supposed to be 2 years and not 1. So we're going to take all these interviews and we're going to have to hold off on voting. So if we could just all remember what we discussed. Yeah. But if anybody has any questions, Member Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chin IF, for your willingness to serve. I just wanted to clarify when you said about the housing across the street from the church held up with bureaucratic nonsense. My understanding was access to water and sewer was the issue. And so then, how is that? Is that what you define as? I mean, it's not our water and our sewer. I think they wanted to tap into A and B's water and sewer, and A and B said no. So I was wondering if you can clarify how that's
I'll tell you what I
bureaucratic.
know. I don't claim to know everything about it because I just drove by and observed based upon my experience. I understood that project was allowed to go forward with the intention of using A and B water. And when the buildings were all built, then somebody got up and said, I don't know that A and B turned them down. I don't think they would have started it had A and B not said it was available. And they said, no, you can't build, you can't come in here, we can't occupy these units because you don't have county or wherever the water purveyor is for that particular parcel. They had a water source. I mean, the county allowed Haile Miley to go out and drill 2 wells just to serve that project. And if they had A and B water for that project, if they didn't have it, they shouldn't have started, and they probably wouldn't have. I've also noticed that different methods or different styles of affordable housing that are sitting right behind the church. You see the domes, there's other modular units back there. They're just sitting. I mean, there are ideas that private people, in this case a church, wanted to fill a gap that was out there. They needed to have needed to have housing for the people displaced by the fire. And I haven't seen a lot of red tape being set aside to allow that to happen.
Yeah, they're also not really willing to let those come to Lahaina and have people put them on their own lots where they want to live in Lahaina. So I don't know what that's about. But I did also want to ask, how many projects have you done in Maui County?
Absolutely 0. I just live here. I retired. I traveled the country, came back and lived for 5 or 6 months. And I lived in Hana, lived in Kula, lived in Pukalani. And I have a small place I rent up in Olinda right now. And I haven't built anything here. I built all over California, Arizona, Nevada. I'm a life member of the California Building Industry Association. I've spent 25 years in Sacramento working on things like this.
Thank you. I'd like to use some of my time to ask Corp Counsel, is this board taking public testimony?
Sorry, hi. Okay, yes, because the Sunshine Board, they will be taking testimony in part of their meetings.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel more comfortable with somebody that's encountered and overcome our things. And, you know, while your breadth of experience and whatnot is commendable, I almost feel like that's a public testimony aspect, because we have specific issues that we need to overcome, and that your experience is from other places. But I mean, we don't have to decide today, so that's just one of my concerns, is that like through public testimony, you could say what is done in other areas, the things that you've encountered, but what we need really is for people that have the experience with the specific obstacles and how to get us over those. So that's just my 2 cents for right now. I have no commitment to a decision one way or the other.
Could I address that? My 42 years of experience have allowed me to see different methods that could apply anywhere in this country, whether it be in California or in Maui. And my understanding of this position is to bring ideas to the table on how affordable housing can be developed and present it through the housing department to the county in whatever form you want. And whether or not I did it here in Maui or did it in Timbuktu shouldn't make any difference.
Members? Member Rollins Fernandez, I will absolutely let you ask a question, but if you wouldn't mind letting me address the committee really quick. It is about 4:10 when I had initially decided maybe we should take a break. However, we are in the middle of everybody now. So if you don't mind, we're maybe gonna have to change the last 20 minutes of our agenda by finishing this housing advisory board, and then maybe getting to the one member for the police commission, because he is here, and then discuss when we can meet again and to talk to everybody else online. But we will finish with the housing board, move on to police, and then discuss when we can come back, if that works for everyone. So we won't vote on the housing board today, and we will hopefully vote on our police commissioner and finish. But please, you answered that. Member Rollins Fernandez is going to ask you a question.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to it.
Aloha, Mr. Chinioff. Mahalo for your willingness to serve after you've retired. I think there's a couple things that you've mentioned that I kind of wanted clarification on, and I wanted to correct the record a couple things. So, one, the Housing Advisory Board was created when we bifurcated Department of Housing and Human Concerns, and not after the fires. So I just wanted to correct the record on that. And then the housing that's around near like the church and stuff is not affordable housing. They're temporary housing, because words matter, and I don't want anyone to think that we think that those are affordable housing, because it's not. It's temporary. And then, my two questions are, one, have you heard of or reviewed our comprehensive affordable housing plan for Maui? And then two, your experience is on a continent, and so the continental way of thinking is very different than an island way of developing, because our land and resources are much more limited. In California, you drive around, it's just like land everywhere, and people thought there was an endless amount of water, which they're now learning is not. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because the ideas, yes, ideas, but also within the frameworks of our county code and our state statutes. So there's obstacles and restrictions, as Member Paulton described, that ideas are great, but within our framework.
To answer your first question, yes, I have looked at the housing plan and the joint agreement that was made by all the agencies for providing housing after the fire.
Wonderful.
Secondly, the folks in Maui are looking for affordable housing to be able to stay here, to be able to afford to stay here. Whether the ideas come from the mainland or they come from homegrown people who went to wherever on Maui, it's the ideas that I understand that we need to bring forward. If lip service to affordable housing is in your code, if it says in your code we're only going to have lip service, we're not going to change the code if we need to change it. We're not going to come up with new ideas. You'll continue to do what somebody else said. We continue doing the same thing and over again, expecting a new result. So there has to be consideration of change to things that are going on now. And I'll leave it at that.
Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you, Member Rollins Fernandez. Do we have any other member comment?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chenaya, for being here. Are you a full-time resident?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I live here. I traveled all over the country and decided I wanted to come back to Maui and live here.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? If not, we will move on to the other nominees.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Members, Ms. Duvachel is next. Unfortunately, she's not with us today. Ms. Pomano is. I think she's online, yeah? Not yet? I think she'll be joining us later. My understanding is she'll be joining us later? No? If not, Mr. Spence, if you want to join us at the podium. Okay.
Chair, just to let you know, Ms. Pomano did raise her hand, so she is
great.
on Teams.
Sorry, we're going to go in order. Thanks, Will. Halilani, please introduce yourself, and then members will have the opportunity to ask you questions.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Leilani Pomano. I work for Pacific Rim Land, and I'd be honored to sit on the board for the Housing Advisory Committee.
Perfect, thank you. Members, any questions for our nominee? Member Paulton.
First, how would you address any conflicts of interest?
Anything that would come before me that is part of my company, I would obviously recuse myself.
Thank you. And the next question, in terms of affordable housing and using the affordable housing fund, would you consider it more important to build generational wealth or prolong the housing and affordable stock?
Those are, it doesn't necessarily need to be two different criterias. The Affordable Housing Fund can address both of it. But there definitely needs to be policy from you folks on how you want the fund to be used.
Do you think 5 years affordability is enough?
In terms of,
if we're utilizing affordable housing funds for a project and it's only to be affordable for 5 years, is that a good return on investment in terms of natural resources as well as funding source?
I think 5 years might be a little too little, frankly.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Member Paulton?
That concludes my questions.
Sounds good. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, I'm happy to support Ms. Pomano when we do vote, which will not be today. So if other members do not have any other questions, I will move on because we have about 12 more minutes left in our meeting. Thank you, Leila.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Spence? If you'd like to please introduce yourself, and then the members will have their opportunity to ask you a question.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, members. My name is Will Spence. I am a former planning director and when you had a DHHC, I was director there for a short time. My passion has always been for affordable housing. I mean, since I started as a staff planner in 1992, I noticed, just the hardship of people, local people trying to stay here, how difficult it is. So in my tenure as a planner, I've always been very cognizant of that struggle and kind of led my career trying to help that. I think sitting on this board, and it's an advisory board, it's not a decision-making board. It's there to help the new Department of Housing. I feel like it's really an opportunity for me to give back and help with the processes and help with creating more housing on this island. Thank you. And
thank you, Mr. Spence. Thank you. Members, any questions? Let me double check members online. Do we not have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Member Johnson. I didn't see your hand when I looked down. Member Johnson, please ask your question.
That's fine. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. Spence. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
We've been asking a lot of questions because this can be complicated when it comes to ethics and things. I know you worked on the Wailea 670 project and many other projects, but if there's some kind of ethics concern, would you recuse yourself, or do you have any kind of plans or anything in regards to that?
Right, and I anticipated actually Councilmember Paulton asking this question, but the answer is
sorry
yes,
to disappoint.
I would recuse myself on any project that a current client or even a former client. I think those ethics are very important. Even at my time as planning director, I think I sought either 3 or 4 ethics opinions for ordinances that I had proposed to changes in county code, because there could be some kind of conflict because I'm a homeowner. So I thought that was important. Those kinds of things are important to get on the record and make sure that there's some clarity.
Okay. Thank you for your response, Mr. Spence. No further questions, Chair.
Thank you, Member Johnson. Member Cook, please ask your question.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, Mr. Spence. You have a lot of experience. We don't have much time. Do you have ideas about how to get affordable housing built, like process or what?
Yes, and thank you for the question. And I have read the affordable housing plan, and there are some things in there that would go a long ways towards implementing more housing and keeping affordable housing on this island. So that's not a new idea, but certainly some of the candidates that you're talking to today have a lot of experience in construction and the financing and those kinds of things. I have the experience in the process, actually the entitlement process, which government processes add a huge amount of cost to housing, and I'd sure like to help those things along. I think Councilmember Rollins Fernandez's question about can you send stuff to this board, I think that would be awesome. I think that would be amazing as the council comes up with policy to get input from yet another body, and then again, it's advisory, but still getting that input from people who know this sector of providing housing would be very valuable.
Thank you, Member Cook. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, let me double check online. Seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Spence.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, members. I really
Thanks for being with
appreciate
us today.
Sorry for disappointing you there, Mr. Spence.
Somebody asked, at least somebody asked.
I'm not living up to your expectations.
That's fine.
Thank you very much. Members, if it's okay with you folks, I do have to pick up my sons sooner than later. If we wouldn't mind taking up Mr. Arias with the Police Commission and then discussing when we can reconvene next week. So Mr. Arias, if you would like to join us up here at the podium, I would take this time while he's walking down to apologize to those nominees joining us online that we're not able to get to you today. We had quite a stacked agenda. Our timeline has greatly shortened with the language with the IMB, so we are trying to squeeze everything in as much as we can. Thank you so much. Mr. Arias, if you would like to introduce yourself, please.
Aloha, Chairman. Aloha, County Council members. My name is Joseph Arias, longtime Maui resident, Waihuko, former law enforcement officer, but I also work in the entertainment industry and audiovisual. My first go around at serving on a commission, and I picked the Police Commission. Other than that, I'd like to welcome any questions.
Wonderful. Members, any questions? Let me double check online. Member Paulton?
So I mentioned before, like one of my priorities for this term is evacuation of elderly and disabled folks. And while it's not necessarily 100% under the Police Commission, like the police are often tasked with going door to door and things like that. And so I just was wondering in what ways you could contribute to ensure that evacuation of elderly and disabled, and then from there, all of our residents are able to evacuate safely. And what other boards and commissions or entities could you work with to keep that top of mind during your tenure?
Definitely what Ms. Watanabe said earlier, trying to implement some kind of policy or a policy into the Police Commission and work with her commission or her committee. And having a police department obviously expand knowledge is also important to their everyday operation, whether it's from the chief or the patrolman. But I think it's a good start to start someplace.
Thank you. And the other thing is that we're not, the mayor, the council, we don't have oversight of the Police Commission. And so, as testifiers or folks bring concerns to you, you would be the entity that has oversight over the Police Commission. And so I just was wondering how you would approach that role.
Oh, most definitely myself and the other commissioners who have to play a big part of that. I just think it has to start someplace, and the more input we get from you folks and the public and as a whole, especially what's been happening at some of the hearings, the police commission hearings these past several months, it's going to be a big factor. It plays a huge factor actually with anything that's going to be implemented going forward.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Member Paulton. Members, any other questions? Let me double check online. Okay, well, then if not, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend adoption of Resolution 25-39, including any non-substantive revisions. Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Sugimura, second by Member Kama. Any further discussions? Let me double check online. Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion to recommend moving his name, Mr. Joseph Arias, to Exhibit B for approval. Thank you. I have a motion made by Member Kama, second by Member Sugimura. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Chair, that's 9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you. Members, Hanaho, motion as amended, may motion as amended. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
9 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you so much, folks. Have a good day.
Okay, members, now to discuss when we can rediscuss. What is
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning? Okay, Member Kama, are you available Monday only? Okay, Wednesdays, not good for you, good for you. How about Thursday? Next week, Thursday. Thursday. Members online, are you able to join us on Thursday? Let me double check my schedule before I volunteer myself. Yes, the 13th. Can you guys do Thursday morning? Looking on this end now. Can you vote? Member Kama, can you guys do that? Oh, Casey, don't blow it. Nah, just joking. Okay, she didn't totally blow it. No, she didn't. She never does. She's amazing.
I can do Thursday after 10 o'clock.
Thursday after 10 o'clock. Thursday after 10 o'clock?
I think I can rearrange probably for Thursday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Member Johnson, can you do Thursday at 10 o'clock?
I have an in-person meeting right in the middle of that.
Okay, what time is your meeting?
It starts at 10:20.
Okay. Okay. Is it a long meeting? We can take a recess, that's why, but we just got to get it done because we have a very short time.
It's an hour. It's long, so I'm.
Okay, not Thursday at 10 o'clock for you?
Well, you know, can multitask like them.
Thursday afternoon, let me double check my schedule. Can you do Thursday afternoon?
I don't want to jam everybody up. I'll just miss maybe 45 minutes of it because it's even worse Thursday afternoon for me. So
shucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know. My husband is working that day, so that means I'm in charge of pickup, unless my mom can do it. And Thursday morning would work best for me, but I would love to accommodate everybody's schedule. How does Thursday morning work for everybody on this end? Can we do Thursday morning? You can do after 9:30, Member Kama? Can we do 9:30 and then we can take a break for a little bit to accommodate Member Johnson's meeting as well, if that works for everybody? Okay, so we're gonna do Thursday at 9:30. Consensus, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, the Great Committee is in recess until Thursday at 9:30 a.m. We will reconvene on the same Teams link, and our in-person viewing and testimony location will be here at the council chambers. And right now, members, did I miss anything?
Just to clarify, Thursday, February 13th.
Thursday, February 13th. your last day to buy your loved one some Valentine's Day presents is when we will be meeting. Other than that, members, thank you so much, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Same link.
Same link. Yep, I said same link, but yes,
Oh,
thank you.
yeah.
No, I
Just for the
appreciate that.
public.
Appreciate that. Member Rollins, Member
Just
Walker.
for the general public information, testimony has been closed, so there wouldn't be testimony at the recessed meeting. Is that correct?
There will not be testimony. However, we are still looking for the nominees to come in, and at that time, they can advocate for themselves. I think written testimony is still accepted. If people would like to submit written testimony, we would love to see it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Of course. Thank you, members. This concludes today's meeting. It is 4:32. See you on Thursday at 9 a.m. Same place, same link. See you then. 9:30 in the morning. And Thursday, February 13th. Aloha.